Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Brienne.
And you're listening to the
Just Haunted House Things podcast.
Okay, so on today's episode of Just Haunted House Things, welcome.
Welcome. We're getting crazy up in here.
So glad to be here today.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening. Oh my gosh. Can we just
Take a moment to talk about how supportive and amazing our
God.
friends and apparently fans are.
thank you to everybody who tuned in to episode 1. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to, I think it was Chicago, Illinois, one of our places.
Yeah, someone in
New Jersey.
Someone in, oh, you know what? I'll just bring it up. I'll
We
bring up the stats.
popular in New Jersey, y'all.
Because we have stats. We can see where people listen. We can't see who has listened.
Yeah.
But we can see where you have listened.
And this may not be interesting to you guys, but it's interesting and fun for us.
It is super exciting to see who's tuned in, and we're super appreciative of it.
And super nerdy because it's just
Super
we've
nerdy.
reached out. You weren't surprised when we hit 25, and I was like, I knew we were gonna hit 25, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden we hit 50 people, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, and now we're at
People
50.
like
we're at 50
us.
plus.
Yeah.
50 plus. So yeah, let's give a shout out to some people. There's people in Nova Scotia.
Oh, what up, family? Hey, Morrison clan,
A
Pilardi.
lot of people from British Columbia, so thank you everybody, friends, family, etc.
up?
Let's say a big old shout out to California.
Ooh, yeah, Callie.
Callie knows how to party.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some friends in Illinois. We've got some friends in Washington and Colorado.
Ooh,
Friends in Alberta, obviously.
my fam. What's up, fam jam?
We got some friends in New Jersey, North Carolina, and in Utah.
Oh, Utah.
Yeah, what's up?
That's fun.
So hello to everybody in the United States. I thought it was just going to be Canadians.
I
listening
full on
to
was
us.
like, oh yeah, Canada. Maybe some Washington State
Yeah.
peeps.
Yeah.
Maybe some California people
Yeah.
because we do have some friends from the Honda community down,
Yeah.
West Coast.
Yeah.
But Utah,
Utah.
North Carolina.
What's up?
What up? Well,
Also-
those are actually some good haunted
Yeah,
they
there's
got some good haunts,
seriously good
some
haunts
seriously
there.
sweet stuff
So-
over there. So that's good.
Yeah, super stoked about that. And also shout out to our homies in Ontario, because I know there's a couple of people who are listening there.
Hell yeah. What's up, boys?
So yeah, hey fellas.
Who they may not be actually currently in Ontario.
But they're somewhere.
Yeah. Which,
But
they
they were listening from Ontario
maybe
at the time.
one day we
One
will.
day we'll get them on the show.
Hopefully, that'd be so. Oh my god, that would be so fucking fun. They know exactly who they are, and that would be just the four
You
of
know
us.
who
Just
you are,
up
and it
in
would
this
be
room.
crazy. It would be stupid, and it would be wonderful.
One may say it may even be douchebaggery.
Douche baggery. Okay, so on today's episode,
Yes, serious business.
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Oh, I might probably have an answer. At least I'll talk. I'll say something.
We'll talk for a really
Yeah.
long time about nonsensical things.
Exactly.
Meandering, as someone said.
Oh, meandering.
Lots of meandering.
That is
I was like,
accurate.
that would happen.
Yep.
Okay, so question.
Okay.
Okay, so you've worked at a haunted attraction. Obviously, we've
have.
established that in the last episode. I have too,
Uh-huh.
just in case we weren't clear.
Oh, I don't think the point got across.
So, okay, working in a haunt,
Mm-hmm.
what are the pros and cons for you? Personally, what would you think are the pros and cons of working at a haunted attraction?
So I've got a real answer, and then I've got like a soulless answer. And my soulless answer is the pros is, scaring people.
Right.
And the cons would be interacting with people. Which I think could also be taken as a real answer too.
I think so.
You know what? I think a pro for me for working in a haunted house is taking something that I've always been passionate about, acting, obviously, and developing that in a way that it's super interactive. Because I grew up on stage, and so that's very different from film and TV. Film and TV, you're filming everything. A lot of editing goes into the process, and then down the line, it goes out for the public to enjoy.
Right.
Whereas on stage in theater, you have to. It's very in your face, in the moment. you can live and die by that audience
Right.
if they are not enjoying or
It's
connecting.
raw.
Absolutely. So you get live theater when you kind of come to a haunted house. And
Right.
I love that each time you interact with a new guest or customer, however you like to describe the people who come in,
Yeah.
you get it's different every time, because
Yeah.
sometimes you'll go and you can read someone and you can scare them right away and they really enjoy it and you really enjoy it, or maybe they're a little too scared and you just want them to have a good time, so you make them laugh and then they light up and again they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I think for me a big pro is the interacting and using like a live theater background that I have,
Totally.
and just having a good time no matter what, whether I'm scaring people, making them cry, making them laugh, or even honestly, because I was such a scared girl going through haunted houses when I was younger, to make it okay for that young, really scared person.
Right.
Or even an old, like a young adult or a middle-aged adult or a senior, anyone who's like super uncomfortable in this situation, if I can make them feel more comfortable, that's a big pro for me.
and like take the opportunity to like really face that fear that they think might be in there.
Yeah.
Like just because I think one of my pros is watching people's, I guess, attitudes change when they're in there.
Yeah.
Because like I remember telling people like out of costume
yeah.
that what you think is in there is probably worse in your brain than it actually is.
Absolutely.
And I would tell people who are like terrified to go in, like curious, but terrified to go in, right? And I'd be like, you should just do it, because then you'll be really stoked that you did it. And I would also explain like, oh, this thing that you've built up in your brain, it's so much worse than what it actually is. And like realistically, going into this haunt, you're going to have so much fun because it's going to be surprising. Yes, it's going to be scary, but it's going to be surprising and you'll surprise yourself a lot of the time.
And no matter what, whether you get scared or not, you're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Or like that's the idea of any haunt.
Yeah.
Is it's not to necessarily traumatize you, though in some of our own
It shouldn't
twisted
be.
ways, a little trauma is kind of fun. But
Minor trauma.
minor trauma coming at you. But no, it's like you're there to entertain people just in
Yeah.
a scary way. I mean, that's why we watch horror movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also the same reason why we go on roller coasters, right? Like, it's entertaining. It's fun to feel scared sometimes and kind of like out of control.
Yeah.
And, maybe close to death. When you're not actually close to death, like the simulated death experience is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like when you know that you're not going to die.
Yeah. Unless you're on a very unsafe roller coaster. But
Then
it's only
you know-
scary when you know it's unsafe and then you don't go on those roller coasters.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That was in stereo.
So okay, I think that's a pro. So
So pro, yeah.
yeah.
Solid pro.
I mean, there's a bunch of pros, like
I mean, another pro would be like the community.
exactly.
Working in a haunt.
A
Well, for
super-
most haunts. I don't know about like, because I mean, maybe we're biased, but like where we worked was like really, really tight knit, and I would
Yeah.
assume other haunts are like that, but I could be
would
wrong.
I would assume I think it's safe to assume that the majority of haunts, like whether it's like a massive amount of like a bunch of different houses or if it's just one house or even a maze experience, I think once you kind of get in the trenches,
Yeah.
so to speak,
Yeah.
you no matter what develop a bond.
Totally.
You go through things.
Would it be trauma bonding?
Partly, yeah, but I think we should cover that more in cons.
Okay, we'll get to that.
But it's true. Like you go through a specific type of experience
Right.
with these people that majority of the world aren't going to understand.
They're not really privy to it. Yeah.
No, like how can you describe to someone that one of the best feelings ever is leaving a haunt at 1:00 in the morning with all of your zombie makeup still on, and you have to drive home, and a senior couple pulls up in the vehicle next to you, looks over to your vehicle as you're driving, and you smile because you're like, I just had a great day. And they
they're
are
freaked
terrified
out.
and like crying and screaming. And you're like, oh my goodness, what happened in that vehicle? And then you look in your rearview mirror and you're like, oh, right, I got a gunshot wound in the middle of my head.
I I feel so bad for any of the fast food restaurants that I went to after haunts.
Specifically, and I hope this isn't copywritten anyway, but McDonald's.
Yeah.
McDonald's, you are the MVP, I think, for most haunt experiences.
Like, I'm sorry to all drive-through workers everywhere. Like, if you're close,
in-store staff.
Yeah, in-store staff. If you're like close to a haunt, I apologize on behalf of all of us. I mean, we get a little bit of joy out of it because like seeing your reactions is kind of funny.
Something I want to ask like the McDonald's workers now is like, what do you prefer? The scary haunt people or the drunk Friday, Saturday night people?
That's a good question.
That's like, because I mean, sometimes the drunk Friday, Saturday night people are a good time and then sometimes they're not.
They're a lot scarier than the haunt people.
Exactly.
I would bet.
They may not look it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Cool. So cons.
Cons.
What's one of your cons?
Oh man. One of my cons is seeing anybody get hurt.
Oh.
That's the worst. It's like
Guest
oh, man.
or staff or both?
Staff.
Oh yeah.
Staff.
Okay. Fuck
Staff.
guests.
I mean, no, not no, not like, I mean, it still sucks if a guest gets hurt, but it's never to the same extent as a staff member.
Yeah.
So far that I know of.
Yeah.
Like from my experience.
The only time I've seen, no, not the only time. I've seen a lot of people get hurt. But one of the best examples I think of like watching a guest get hurt, but it kind of be funny and okay.
Yeah.
Was I played a creepy little girl in like a nursery style room.
Yep.
And these two grown men, and I would ballpark their ages of like 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Seemed very tough as they screamed in the face of the grandma and grandpa animatronics in the room in front of me. Came into my room and I was kind of like, I had super long dark hair at this point, and I was wearing an all white kind of like young 1840s kind of style bloomers and like white blouse.
Okay.
And I was hiding behind a chair and these guys come into the room and I kind of did like the Ring creepy walk out.
Okay.
And the first man, and I still wear like his ball cap, I can see it all in my head, and I kind of crawl out and I just like twist my head and look up from him from behind my hair, and the dude screamed and bolted, and he tried to run into the next room.
Right.
But the next room, you had to go through a black curtain.
And it's like
a right angle. Yeah. So instead of doing his left turn, he runs directly into the white wall, which, mind you, is like, it's not dark in this room.
No, it's not.
There are strobe lights going off, but like not massive.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference of like the pure black curtain next to the white nursery wall.
Yeah.
And he hit this wall and he went down on his butt and his friend behind him was laughing.
Of course.
And this guy is like crawling
Oh my God.
into the next room through the curtain. And I'm keeping it together as best as I can. And I'm laughing. And you actually peek around the corner and I was like through my like laughing fit. I'm like, this guy ran to the wall. It's so funny, but I think the wall's messed up. And like, what? The dude moved it like 4 feet.
Oh my God.
And it was like a free hanging wall. So you had to get behind the tunnel and you had to push it back.
Oh my God. I can't believe that.
So like, that's
crazy.
the only time that I find it okay for a guest to be hurt. Cause like he was laughing, like you can hear him on the way out of the house. He was laughing. He had a great time.
Yeah,
But like,
every other time, like where they're seriously injured and like crying or something, like I'm not into that.
no, like this one girl who like shows up with her foot was cut. Again, in the nursery, she walked all the way through the house to the nursery.
Well, yeah, and like we had this prop that
It was in the
like,
kitchen,
it was,
right?
Yeah, it was in this kitchen
Yeah.
room that we had, and it was like a fridge, and I guess
It was these people crawling out of the fridge, or like attempting to crawl out of the
yeah,
fridge.
so it was like simulated crawling or whatever. And so they were banging around, and then the actor in that room actually scared them into the fridge, which, like, you know, on like a good day that would probably suck. But she happened to be wearing flip flops, which is totally fine.
Yeah, like
right?
there was
there's no
shoe restriction.
no, and there never would be because like
The path is
is clear. So the fact that she got so scared, she jumped like 4 feet to her right and then just like ended up in the fridge. And I guess she sliced her toe open on the fridge itself.
I think wasn't It might not have been, but like one of the hands was exposed at that point, I think, and it like had a metal.
It wasn't.
Wasn't. Okay.
Yeah. So upon inspection, it wasn't that, but it was exposed. But it wasn't that. It was actually like the edge of the fridge.
Oh, the fridge itself.
Yeah, because it was like the underside of her foot.
Yeah,
and yeah, so it was like the underside of her toe, of her big toe. And it was fine. Like, she ended up being fine. Like, she bled everywhere. But the best part about that story is me and the poor supervisor, we had to go through, and we were, because we had to shut down the house for cleaning, obviously.
Obviously.
There's blood everywhere, like actual real blood that's gross. So we had to go through and be like,
gross.
We'd be walking along. We'd be like, is that real blood? Kind of like flash your flashlight on it and be like, nope, and then continue walking.
Not shiny enough.
Yeah, it looks kind of dusty, so that means it's like, painted on in blood.
Yeah.
And then we got to this one section, which was literally around the corner from where she sliced her foot open.
The bathroom like area.
Yeah. And we were just like, oh, there's the real blood. But it was like this tiny little pile. Like, it was probably the size of like a small like share plate.
But that's just where it started.
That's where it started, and there was like a trail all the way through.
I remember, again, I'm always in the nursery when these amazing things happen. I remember she was like limping into the nursery, and at first I was going to get mad because she had her shoe off in her hand, and I was like,
that's not okay. Like,
you gotta wear your shoes. Like, we are not animals here. That is not this type of haunted house.
She's like, no, wait, my foot's bleeding.
And I was like, oh. I was like, ooh. So I escorted her through like what we would consider like an emergency exit or chicken door. Through the sneaky little chicken door to go right outside because clearly she needed medical attention. But I remember like I followed the little blood trail back because I was curious. So like I'm going around the bed and I'm like, oh. Okay, it keeps going. And
go through the hallway.
And you got to go through the hallway, but the hallway goes down one way and then doubles back. And I'm like, it doesn't end. And it's one of those things that like
it was like
makes it real. And you're like, how much blood is in the human body? Like, it wasn't just a drop.
And the best part is like we also had to clean outside of the attraction because she stopped just outside of the exit.
Right.
And so there was like
just,
a giant
let it
puddle.
Pool.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't move her right away because like we weren't sure how like.
No, but you elevate that shit.
Yeah, so they eventually moved her.
Yeah.
But it was one of those situations that was kind of risky. And like we were concerned for her because like we weren't sure like what she had sliced her foot on at the time. And so we were like, oh my God, like what do we have to do? And yeah, it ended up being fine. She was fine. Everything was fine.
She was like, and there was no like ill will, and she wasn't like,
no. She was actually pretty cool about it, shockingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was, it's cool. But yeah, it's those kind of things that are like, I would say is a con because then it kind of takes away from like the fun side.
It makes it too real.
A little too real.
Because like you have to drop the facade. Like you can't be in character and be like,
no, you have to drop your character.
Help you out the door. It's like, oh my, okay, I am no longer a demonic little child.
I am now the person who is going to assist you in this emergency.
I know first aid. May I help you?
Yeah. And like, it's those situations that kind of suck, at least for the guest side of things. Yeah. But like when a guest turns on a actor, that's when I get like really upset.
The rage inside me builds.
Yeah.
Well, not just because it's like, I think that's definitely one of my cons is when it's a respect thing. I find
totally
you are consciously coming to a haunted house.
You paid for it.
You paid for money. You know what the expectations are. You know, hopefully, going into this, that majority of this, and I'll just say it that way, are not real.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's not like these are human beings being paid.
Yeah, it's all simulated monsters, just in case you didn't know.
Exactly, to entertain you. And it baffles me every year. And again, this may be my naivety and my pure innocence of heart. I can't even say that with a straight face. But it baffles me that people are like, have the intention to hurt these people that you have paid to entertain you because you want to be a big man on campus
or a
badass bitch.
Yeah.
And
like whatever the reasoning is, just like
what? Like who hurt you?
Like check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Brah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Like it sucks because when you have to respond to those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like your heart drops because you don't know what's going on and you just get this call like, oh, something's happened at X location.
Yeah, like, and we have all, of course, like, I'm sure every haunt, if you've got a communication system, has different codes.
Yeah,
So
different
it's like
different ways
code
to like,
red or
yeah, like different ways to like
Yeah.
communicate that something shitty has happened in your attraction. Whether it's like someone's vandalized something, broken something, or punched someone in the fucking face, it still sucks because like you might
Absolutely.
not know exactly what you're walking into when you get there.
Yeah.
And so then you're like having to assess the situation and you're like, okay, do I have to worry that my attraction is busted? Or am I just worried about the fact that my actor is like hurt? And that's the biggest concern. Like I could give two shits if the attraction was busted.
Oh, yeah.
Like
money
you
is
can
money,
buy
production,
something,
whatever.
You can buy new things. You can fix stuff
Yeah.
pretty easily. But unless it's like really fucking busted. But but if you go in and you like basically beat the crap out of one of the actors, or if you like intentionally like punch someone right in the friggin' mouth, like I get livid. I get
will
so mad.
light you on fire,
Like
is my feeling.
If I like, they're lucky securities.
Yeah.
There.
I like, and it's not even like I worry about the actors in that situation, especially the young ones.
Yes.
Especially the ones who haven't like lived the life.
Like it's their first job.
And like they're like either still in high school or fresh out, and they're
Yeah.
so wide eyed and like they got
Bushy-tailed.
the Bambi eyes, and
Yeah.
they're just like they're looking
They're
up
just
to you to be
so
like
excited to
I
do
love
the job.
scary things. I love
Yeah.
monsters.
They're just so excited.
And it's not just because when I first started, I didn't get hit the first year.
Yep.
I got hit multiple years after that. But the first year, the things that got me were really small, but you would still consider assault in a certain way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one of the times I've had, or the amount of times I've had garbage
Toss
thrown
you.
at me
Yeah.
in my face.
Totally.
For what reason?
Totally. Yeah.
Like,
There's
I
no
mean,
reason.
There's no reason, but like you're essentially throwing that at me saying I'm trash.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to go over here and scare more people. But yeah, thanks for thinking that.
Thanks.
And then, or like I've been spit on.
Yeah, that's gross.
And that's like, oh,
That's
you are
next level.
so lucky I am working right now
Yeah.
because I would
That
drag
is-
you by your hair.
like spitting on someone is the ultimate like
Disrespect.
disrespect. Like,
I'd rather get punched than spit on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's because it's a bodily fluid and you don't know, right? And especially like right now.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
that would be awful.
Like you don't know me like that. You don't. There is no consent.
Yeah, like don't spit on me.
No.
Don't spit on me. And it's gross. It's so gross. I think the amount of times that I've been hit with like those blow up hammers has been far too many to count. Even out of costume.
need to stop.
Even out of costume.
Yeah, selling those.
Like they're awful. Like especially at like haunt things. Like they're so bad.
Like we really want to promote, don't touch the actors, but here's a giant inflatable
Here's
hammer.
a giant inflatable
also
hammer
a giant sword.
that people can't just like control themselves with.
like
and then
like I've seen 40-year-old men turn into like 5-year-olds.
Oh my God, just 5-year-olds. Like I get that it's a fun toy. Like
Totally.
it's super cool.
Go
but, like,
home and play
go
with
home
it.
and play with it, please. I do like the one time that I got hit, which was like it was totally my fault.
Did you step out of your scare zone and into some personal
No,
space?
I was roaming at the time.
Oh.
So I was like, where was I? I can't remember where I was in the location, but I was roaming around.
Yeah.
And I scared this lady, and I guess I was like just a touch too close, and she like elbowed me right in the chin.
Ooh.
And so it like clanked my teeth together. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I
Ooh.
chipped a tooth.
Oh,
Like
I can hear it.
yeah, it sucked. But I was like, yeah, I deserve that. Like I didn't even like tell anybody about it. I just was like, I took it on the chin, literally.
Like a champ.
And I was like, nah, it's fine. But yeah.
One of the most painful ones I ever had was when it was an event where you had to do like there was daytime scaring.
Yeah.
And so because I remember it being daylight and I was outside and
Okay.
we eventually were able to like move to like our scaring zone was a lot bigger back then.
yeah.
So you could go places that you weren't necessarily watched all the time.
Oh, yes, I remember these days.
And so
Semi-outlaw days.
Exactly. Oh God, wild, wild west of haunting.
Yeah.
But I remember these kids I was like scaring this one young girl, like preteen, early teens, and her friends were really enjoying the fact that like I was scaring the crap out of this girl. And of course, you always want to like get the group involved in one way or another. But this group decided to kind of be a dick to her, where they kept pushing her towards me. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I hate that. Clearly she's not enjoying that. Like, let's not push it too far.
Yeah.
But they pushed her. One guy pushed her so hard, and she was trying to protect herself and block herself. So her feet froze, but her body went forward, and her elbows went up.
Right.
And they went right into my ovaries.
Oh, my God.
And I could have just, like, puked everywhere from that. And I remember being in the first aid area and just, like, in the fetal position being like, oh, not as bad as all of my cramps, but
that's bad.
But it's not that time.
It's not that time, and I should not be feeling this way.
No.
Yeah, that sucks. You know, this kind of like ties into the other question I had for this evening, was like talking about, well, I guess it's not a question, but like a topic of like best and worst guests that you've encountered.
Oh my God, 2 options just came to my head, one for each.
Yeah. Like, I have a few.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Okay, because my best guest experience was when I was acting.
Yeah.
And I have to say my worst guest experience was when I was supervising.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it just turned so quickly and I didn't need to.
Right.
So my best guest experience, and mind you, this is just, honestly, I actually don't know if this is my best, but it's probably one of the most memorable ones.
Right.
And whenever I tell people, they're like, that's really weird. And I was like, but I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was working the haunted house and I was the character who was up front.
Yeah.
And this family comes by and the mom wasn't going to go in with the kids and the dad because she just had a newborn baby that she decided to bring to the theme park.
Okay.
And by newborn, I mean probably about 2 months old.
So like really new.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously this mom and dad, they had like 3 or 4 other kids. So like they knew they were good. They could handle the newborn out in public. All good.
Like it's fine.
So when the kids had just come out and they were all like super excited and like panting because they were super scared, the mom was like, oh my God, that was so great. I'd love to get a photo of you. And I was like, yeah, sure. She was like, okay, but with my baby. And I was like, before I could say anything, this woman full on,
no way,
like shoves this child in my hands. And thank God I know how to carry a baby. And like I used to nanny. And like I'm just like, oh God. So I catch this baby because she did not wait. She did not wait for my arms.
Like, shoved a baby.
She just
on
was
you.
like, baby. And I was like, I could be a terrifying person. And there is this great photo of me with like, I look like a dead child with like this Joker-esque smile, dripping blood down my face. Right. And I'm just holding this baby in like a little Batman onesie. And I'm just like this
my God,
evil like smile.
Know, I think I remember seeing this picture.
Yeah.
Because I think you showed it to me.
I'm pretty, because I was just like, and I told everyone after, I was like, yeah, she shoved a baby at me. I was like, and I always tell people that I eat babies. So this is like a little weird for me.
A little weird. Yeah. A little too on the nose.
And so I just like held the baby and I'm like trying so hard not to break character. And the mom's just like, this is great. And I'm like, your child's going to grow messed up. And I respect that.
Respect. Lady. Respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
You tell me a good one and then we'll go into bad ones.
Okay. So this is actually really cute. And I think about it often. Mm-hmm. Because it was, well, it's cute. It's like bittersweet kind of story. So when you work at a haunt, especially that does like daytime operations, sometimes you end up with like kids who end up being like left to be babysat.
Yeah.
Or just like absentee type parents who are like sitting on a bench nearby. And so this one day I was like out front. I can't remember if I was out front all day or if I was just like relief. So like I was giving breaks to people. But either way, I was out front for a period of time. It felt like for a long time. So I'm assuming it was like all day.
Yeah, but in that heat, man.
Like, I don't know, it melts your brain a little.
Yeah.
So this kid comes up. He's super excited. And he just wants to ask me all sorts of questions about who I was, like what I was doing out there, like what was on my face. Making sure that
your character backstory is on point.
Like was literally grilling me, right? But I was having this really great connection with this like kid. Yeah. Kid's dad was like sitting 15 feet away, like on the bench. Yeah. and
Ignoring the child.
like just not paying attention to what he was doing.
Probably checking the game scores.
Something, I don't know, like
Texting his buddy about fishing.
or something. I don't know.
The newest rave in town.
Yeah, Tinder wasn't a thing then, so I don't think he was on Tinder.
There was no swiping.
There was no swiping at the time, but he
could have been like on classic OkCupid. There's no
he could have
judgment.
been. But either way, so wasn't paying attention to his kid, but his kid was having a blast. And you could just tell, like, just from the amount of questions that the kid was asking me, he was just looking for a connection.
He's just looking for like someone
to talk to hang out with, and like have a good time. So we like literally spent most of the afternoon just like hanging out, and I'd be like, okay, I have to go in and like tell these people about the house, so I'll be right back. And then he would be there right at the front, like waiting for me,
you.
just like so excited. And it was really cute. And like I think about it often, and I hope that kid is doing well, because like it was just like, it was kind of impactful for me.
Totally, because it's like I bet he probably thinks about that day a lot.
Like was doling out high fives, not to me, not just to me, but like to other people, like people coming out of the house. Like, so if I was giving high fives to people coming out of the house, he would be like, high fives.
So he's like part of the experience
so
at that
he was
point.
like fully engaged in just like that whole
How beautiful
thing.
would it be if he like turns out to work at a haunt one day?
Oh man, it would be so cool.
That'd
like,
be so cool.
That would be the coolest thing. And like if that was your introduction into like haunt work, yeah, that would make my heart just sing.
Right?
That would be the coolest thing. Oh, it'd be so cute.
That is so cute.
But those are the types of guests that I absolutely love. Like
but you can see that like this like small little 10 to 20 minutes or an entire afternoon.
Yeah.
Like the experience that you give them, the fun and the light in their eyes, that's going to stay with them.
That they're just like excited about and they're invested in. Like they want as much entertainment out of it that you're willing to give them, essentially. And it's like, it's one of those kind of like exchanges.
Yeah.
That you have with a random stranger. And I think it's just like fun, like regardless of it being like at a haunt.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that
you guys connected on a level that no one else got at that point.
Yeah. And I just think like that's kind of the base for haunts, is that it's like an exchange of like an experience for both, like whether.
But it means something different to each person.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think it's beautiful.
That might be a little out there, but it's fine.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
No, but that's something that I like. We were talking about earlier. The community is
right.
For lack of a better term, or actually not for lack of a better term, because I own this, like a freaks and geeks come together kind of thing. The people like. More often than not, the people that are going to work at like a haunt are going to be people who have self-identified as like an outcast,
right?
Or
the outsider.
The outsider, the person who didn't always fit in, or like tried really hard but didn't understand why they weren't connecting with people.
Right.
And then you come to this smorgasbord of different people with different backgrounds, and you're like, oh my gosh, and none of you are on the same level, like. Mentally, but like you love each other equally.
Yes.
I will carry my haunt friends with me for life.
Forever.
Yeah, I've gone to film school, I've danced for years, I was singing, like I've done a lot of things in my life, but the people that I will always think back fondly and be able to count on, and I hope they know that they can count on me no matter how many years we go without talking.
Yeah, even if it's been like a long time. Because I've like even we're getting off track, but it's fine. Even like
we're meandering.
I hope the person who said that is listening. We're meandering.
Meandering.
Okay.
We could take the A to B trail, but I want to go like A, turn left, do a little loop around, go through the daisy field, go down Sleepy Hollow Path, and then hit B.
I forgot what I was going to say.
It's because we were meandering.
What were we talking about? Oh, I was going to say that, like, even if I haven't talked to a person in, like, years, literally years, I will, like, if someone wants to, kind of, like, reach out and be like, hey, I was thinking about you, like, how you doing? Like, that's fine. I literally had that happen not that long ago of, like, someone who used to work with us.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, how have you been? Like, I know it's been forever, blah, blah, blah. Like, haven't seen this person in probably like 2 years? Longer. It was like 6 or 7 years. Did I tell you about this? Oh,
no. I think we were thinking about a similar experience, but two different people. Because
2 different people.
One of our other friends, who I'm going to shout out right now, Jacob.
Hello, Jacob.
Hi, Jacob. He messaged me
Yeah,
and he was
yeah.
like, specifically, he was like, oh, I was just thinking about my old like haunted house friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. He was like, I just miss you. I was like, I miss you too.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I'm really good at being able to pick up like a relationship
where you left off.
where you left off, and not have to worry about any awkwardness, because I want to know what you've been doing with your time. And I think that's another great thing about the community is
Yeah, you can literally
you can
pick up.
always count on people and pick right back up.
Yeah, like I would like if any one of them called me up right now and was like, "Hey, I need your help." I'd be like, "Okay,
Absolutely.
like, what do you need? What do you need?" Anyways, okay. Back on topic. Do you have any other best guests that you can think of, or like types of guests?
Oh, okay. I mean, because specifically, I can't think about like best guests, because it's just more of like, you're right, the type of guest. Like, I really enjoy the really young girls who are super scared
Yeah.
that go in and they're like hiding behind their dad.
Yes.
But then when they come out on the other end, they're like, I did it. And you're like,
so
yeah,
proud
you
of themselves.
did.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe it's because I see a little bit of myself in them.
Totally.
Because I was that little girl.
Yeah.
I love the siblings who protect each other to get them in. They'd be like, it's okay. I got you.
I got you. It's okay. It's okay. We're good.
Don't worry. Or like the ones who like, okay, I do remember this one time where this little boy, he was probably like 7.
Yeah.
And his sister was probably like 5. And she really wanted to go in the house with him and their dad. And their dad was like, okay, well, you got to decide now because there's no refunds at the haunted house.
Right.
So you either stay out here with mom or you come in with us. And I kid you not, this brother grabs his sister's shoulders and is like, it's okay. I'm going to protect you. I won't let them get you.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
so cute.
My heart, but I have to be a cold bitch right now. So I go inside and I tell them the rules, but like it was a really slow day. So I kind of followed them through the house.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's okay. That table's not real. That head's not real. I got you. I'll protect you from the monsters. And I'm just like,
Oh,
that is the best
so
thing ever. My
cute.
brother didn't do that when we were that age. My brother chased me around the house with a gorilla mask on and all the lights off.
Yeah.
He did not protect me. I'm sorry, my brother. You terrified me as that gorilla mask. And he also used to pretend to be Chucky.
Oh, why would he do that?
I don't know, but maybe I'm twisted because he used to terrorize me. So he would not be a good guest experience.
No.
Back then. He's a lovely guest experience now.
Yes, he is.
But like, he wasn't that awesome brother who was like,
I will protect you.
I am the strength.
He would now, though.
Oh, 100. He would not. No. You'd have to hold him back because like I wouldn't want him to punch anyone who tried to like scare someone.
That's true. That is true.
Not that he's physically violent, but he's a protector.
He's very protective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Any other positive?
My favorite types of guests is probably the people who jump really high.
Oh my God.
And yell expletives at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, fucking shit, fuck.
Oh my God.
Like, and they're just like basically doing a bunny hop through
Or like a little jig, and you're
they're
like, what are you doing? It's like they're stepping on fire ants or something.
It's my favorite because it's like it takes all of me to not burst into laughter because their instinct is just like full body, and I'm just like, I can't handle
Either
it.
fight or flight, and that was a flight, but they don't have anywhere to go because it's too dark. And the rules are you're not allowed to go backwards.
Just flailing in all directions. Like those are my favorite. I really enjoy those.
Or the ones who are like will scream at the top of their lungs and then be like, motherfucker, and they'll be like, haha, hey, you got me.
Yeah.
But then they like totally like they get that one scare and then they're laughing and you're like, okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that would be me.
Yeah.
That's 100%
Oh yeah.
me.
We did that before when we went to like Eli Roth's Scoratorium.
Yeah.
It was you, me, and one other person, or no, two other people.
Two other people.
And I was probably the most scared out of the 4 of us. And
Well, I don't know. There was someone else there that was like probably not into it as much as we were.
yeah, but
It's fine.
We won't count that person.
It's fine.
But yeah, so we like I remember it was the guy with like not quite Leatherface, that one.
Oh, the tall, slender
With, like,
woman with the bald cap and the
Yeah.
tidy whities.
Yeah, something like that. But like jumped out of nowhere and like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, but then afterwards I'm like, but that art design is beautiful.
This is incredible.
Yeah, it's like this story they're telling is really wonderful. Oh my fucking god! The color of blood they chose is really realistic. Like,
Man, one of my I was telling who was I telling this about the other day? It might have been Beck, who is my roommate.
Yeah.
Hi, Beck. She's probably listening through the door.
Solid haunt family.
A haunt enthusiast, haunt family,
Yeah.
loves horror movies, is a makeup artist. We'll have you on the show. It's fine.
Can't wait.
So I remember telling Beck about the Goratorium.
Yeah.
And specifically when we got off the elevator. Because you would get in the elevator.
Well,
and
yeah, because I remember you had to walk upstairs
and
to get in the elevator.
And then we got in the elevator. And then
it dropped.
Well, it didn't drop. It like slowly moved somewhere. And then I remember it opening.
Yeah.
And it was just like that, like the hallway full of mirrors.
It was the dude.
Quiet.
There was like a dude.
Yeah.
That
there was
also
a bellhop.
But there. That's like the Leatherface mask thing I was talking about. It was like he was the missing. I can't even remember the story that well. It was like the missing son.
Oh, yeah. So we had the tour guide.
Yeah,
Right?
the tour guide.
And then the tour guide got kidnapped by
the dude. Yeah.
And then
Wow, your cat really wants to get in the room.
wants to be in it. 1 second.
Ding. Welcome to Soft Talk with Brienne. I'm thinking about starting an ASMR haunted house talk. If anyone enjoys this, I don't know if my voice is that calming in a whisper form. Please let us know in the comments below, and maybe I will start a new channel.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm waiting.
so-
I was waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm back.
Hi, welcome. Missed you.
Missed you too. We were all of 3 feet away from each other.
You didn't even leave the room.
I didn't.
But I saw your back for a minute, and I got very scared. Abandonment issues came up, and it was a whole thing
Oh,
for
wow.
the 10 seconds you were
Okay.
not eye contacting with me.
It should be we'll unpack that later.
Yeah.
So we're in the Goratorium,
The tour guide gets taken.
and he literally yells, "You cock blocking son of a bitch!" Which was,
Because it was 4 girls, right? And he was like,
it was so funny.
it was so funny. And the guy, but it's like as he's getting dragged away,
Yes,
he's like,
and
"You cock
simulated
son of a bitch!" And you're like, that made me laugh.
It
Really
was so
hard.
good. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
And then there was this like short bellhop in the elevator with us.
Yes.
And then I just remember as the floors were going,
Yeah.
they slowly moved towards us, didn't say a thing.
No.
And then when the doors opened, they just booked it out, and we were like, "Oh, okay.
Oh, right. And we were like, do we
follow?" Like we were so confused, and then we just like stepped out of the elevator, and it was silent, like dead silent, and it was a hallway full of mirrors, and there was like one side was
and
just like
white sheets too, yeah?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was terrifying.
Because, and we were like, we don't know where to go.
And it was so quiet. We were like, did we just get abandoned in a haunt? Like,
Yes.
yes, we did. And then I just remember the woman in the tidy whities and the sheer
She was
white
like-
mask
Yeah.
that like came out at us with a chainsaw. Like that shit was cool.
Yeah,
That
terrifying.
was so cool. It was terrifying. And it's hard for me to get scared now.
Yeah.
And so I was going into it like thinking, yeah, it's not going to be that scary.
No.
Like
I'm so judgy on scary things
is it
now.
gonna be scary? It's probably not gonna be that scary. And then it was fucking terrifying.
It was so good. But also, I mean, let's not discount the fact that, Eli Roth is a major movie maker.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of money that he was able to put into a lot of these things.
Yeah.
But he also had a great story to tell.
Yeah, it was a good story. It's unfortunate that one went bankrupt.
That's honestly, I think for me, and this is something we can get into a different
Yeah.
podcast, but for me, like the story is the
The biggest.
major thing about a haunt that's either gonna
Biggest.
make
or
me
break
scared
it.
or not. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to either have me completely invested
Yeah.
or I'm out.
I don't care. And it's also
I'm
like
out.
when it's like not just going to a haunted house, but like being a part of a haunted
there.
house.
Yeah.
It's like the story and the character I can create. Again, maybe that's episode 3 talk.
Yeah. Okay. So, now that we've covered like the guests that we'd like to see in
Or
the
just
haunt.
a touch of the guests that we like.
Yeah. Like, because, we could go on about that for hours.
We could meander down that road for hours.
Meandering. So we should talk about guests we don't like. Like the ones that really we don't like coming through.
The ones that like when you hear
like,
about a situation, you do an instant eye roll.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to like deliberately be a jerk.
The people who go to a haunted house that want to not necessarily scare the actors, because like, I mean, that's kind of like can be a fun give and take, but I think it's more so the people who want to one up
Right.
the actors.
Or just be like obnoxious in whatever way they feel necessary.
Because they feel like invalued in some other part of their life, which I'm assuming, if we're going to get into psychological talk, because that's a lot has to do with haunted houses.
Yes, it does.
But like people who obviously think that that's going to make them the quote unquote big person on campus.
Yeah, totally. It's a control thing.
Absolutely.
100% a control thing. They feel like they're out of control
Yeah.
in this situation in a haunt. So they want to go out of their way
Yep.
to now take the control back.
Take back that power.
Take the power back.
Take the power back. But little do they know we train our people
literally
to
train people
keep the power.
to keep their power. And actually, it rolls over into their real life. So
Absolutely.
meandering for a second. But like I've noticed that over the years, like even for myself, like with that training,
Yeah.
I became more assertive in my real life,
Absolutely.
which is incredible, I think. And especially like when you have these kids fresh out of high school,
Yeah.
coming into a haunt, learning new things, whether it's like how to say no,
Which you have to know how to say.
which you have to know how to say, or like learning how to like keep your power, you end up seeing it from them like, I don't know, 3 years later and seeing it outside
Yeah.
of the haunt, which like I think is such a cool thing to see.
Absolutely. Because it's also about like reading your guest and like being able to determine if is that a guest I want to go near or is
Yeah.
that a guest I should avoid.
Yeah. Which is, most of the guests that we don't like.
Yeah. It's just avoid.
Just avoid them. I remember this is back in the outlaw days.
Oh God.
So we got oversold one night at the event.
That rarely happens.
I can't even
Sarcasm. I'm great at it.
so good. So this was like circa 2008.
Oh my God.
So like really
Before
and
you
the
and I.
footprint was smaller like for the event. So I was dressed as like this scary witch lady, which is like whatever.
I love those photos.
She was a bitch. Anyways, so that character was just so rude.
Straight up.
So because we oversold, for whatever reason, they sent us back out into the crowd, and it was like hard to move. But they gave us weapons, because of course that's a good thing to do. So I went out with like this baseball bat, a witch with a baseball bat. Make it make sense. I can't. It's fine because I think I chose it, and I was like, can I take this?
Are you like channeling like a
protection.
League of Their Own kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's no crying in baseball.
Take back the power.
Take back the power. Okay. So we're walking around the park, and we basically is like all of the roamers are in like one singular line, like, going through the event.
Yeah.
And it was so bad. So we come to a clearing, and we're kind of like me and my partner, I just did air quotes, partner, we kind of came to a clearing, and other people like were kind of shooting off because like they just got ahead of us, and that's fine. But then these guys approach me, and one of them grabs my bat, like grabs one end, and I've got the other end, and I'm like, oh shit. what is going to happen, because there was people everywhere. This person was obviously drunk, and like,
Yeah.
not saying that drunk people are bad.
No.
But I'm saying that this person was not in his right frame of mind.
Yeah.
And was just like wanting to cause a ruckus, saw a baseball bat in someone's hand and wanted to take it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a giant red flag. And I
Giant.
was so terrified. And so do not try this at home. Do not try this at your haunt, please. Lord, do not. Okay. So I'm realizing that he's trying to take it away from me. And I put my hand on the other side, and he's now put his hand on the other side. So we're kind of like holding it opposite of each other.
Tug
and
of war kind
tug
of thing.
of war, right?
Yeah.
So he's pulling it, I'm pulling it,
Yeah.
he's pulling it, and he's like overtaking it at one point. And I see that there's a fence to my right, and so I just pivot and pin him. Like, I pinned this kid. And like, yes, he was a kid, probably in his early 20s. It's fine. I was also 20 at the time.
So badass.
But it was one of those moments where I was like, he's either going to take the bat and he's going to cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And I'm now on the hook for this because I was the one who was carrying the bat.
Yeah.
Or I yell for my partner to go get security. This all happened within like a split second.
Of course.
Where I was like, get security, and I pin this kid to the
Yeah.
fence. Do not try that at home.
There
This
are
never
different
happened.
protocols.
There's different protocols. So I pin this kid. I should stop saying a kid because he was actually an adult man.
Yeah.
And then all of his friends started like surrounding me.
Oh, that's
being
not
like
terrifying.
not terrifying at all. And now my partner's gone. And back then in like 2008, security wasn't like the fastest to respond to stuff. So it took them like in the span of time that it took them to show up,
Yeah.
it was already done.
Yeah, deflated. Yeah.
Because I was like, had the person pinned to the fence,
Yeah.
and their friends were just like yelling at me to like, let him go, let him go, let him go.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I will let him go if he promises to let go of the bat. I will let him go, and we all go in our separate ways, and then
Yeah.
we're done.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not playing. He was trying to take my bat. Like, this is not okay. It's not his property. It's
Yeah.
property of me currently. And I work here. Leave me alone. I will let you go. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, cool, fine. And like, dude, like his friend grabs him by the scruff and walks him away. Like, I guess one of them at least felt slightly embarrassed.
Thank God.
And so they went away, and then security shows up. And they're like, what happened? And I had to explain it all to them. And I was like, well, the guy tried to steal this bat, and this happened, blah, blah, blah. Gave a description.
Yeah.
The dude didn't even write it down.
Of course not.
So off they went, and the security guy was like, well, it's kind of close to the end of the night anyways. We probably won't find them.
Oh,
so
God.
yeah, that's what it was like back then, and it was really bad. Like, if you thought it was like bad some days, like in the,
That's
anytime recently, like, it's no, not even close.
That's crazy.
And it took them so long to get there, and it was one security guy that showed up.
Of course it was.
Just one.
Of course. Whereas now it's like, and this actually kind of ties into one of my bad guests experiences. Like the security that ended up with my story is there was multiple that showed up. They showed up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Mind you, at this point, I wasn't an actor. I was a supervisor.
Right.
And I had a radio, so I had a direct line to security, so they were able to
Right,
come up.
right,
And we
right,
also had different protocols in place. So
Yeah,
I'll just tell the story.
Like,
yeah, there's actual, you could get things done and resolved.
yeah, and like, yeah, back in the outlaw times, it was run by different people, and it was like, it was a
mess, but it was a good time.
yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, that was one of those nights that like I would not wish on anybody.
No.
Ever.
So my experience is like, I definitely have had some poor experiences as an actor. But at that, I think that as you learn as an actor in a haunt, you kind of like, that just comes with it.
Yeah.
Is like, you just kind of have to learn how you are going to handle the situation, because no matter what, people are going to, good and negative people are going to come in and out.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to like, do I respond to the situation, or do I just let it slide
Yeah.
and move on with my life?
Yeah.
So I was in the haunted house, and I was doing a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I love and also equally hate drunk people that come through
Totally.
the attractions.
Yeah.
Because they can either be super amazing and having the best time ever, and just on like the beautiful uphill of being drunk and just everything's fun, or they can be real dickheads and want to punch everything and everyone because they're badass.
Yeah.
So I was with this group of 4 or 5 adults.
Yeah.
And they were drunk, but they seemed to be like the positive people.
Yeah.
And they looked like they were going to be so fun to follow through. Like
Right.
if someone's going to scream at them or like jump out at them, like it looked like they were going to be the ones that like fall down and laugh.
This is going to be an exciting
Exactly.
walkthrough.
And of course, like you're as a supervisor, you're checking on your actors, making sure that they're feeling good and comfortable and seeing if they need some water or whatever.
all the things that you would
All
normally
the things
do.
you do. So I'm keeping a pretty good distance from this group.
Yeah.
And the first couple rooms, they're enjoying it and they're laughing like, oh my gosh, ha, 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 that's so exciting. One guy tries to lean over a fence to touch a zombie.
like, whatever.
And I was like, oh guys, just to remember the rules at the front of the house, can't touch anything inside. And they're like, okay, yeah, no worries. Awesome. So they kind of get 1 or 2 rooms ahead of me because I'm checking on my actors, making sure they're happy. And I kind of catch up with this group. And at one point, there's this statue in one of the rooms that he's like a demon knight is what we would call him kind of thing. So he like moves forward and didn't work all the time.
Right.
So he was really sketchy. Okay. And one of the, I'm assuming, boyfriends picked up the girlfriend and like stood her kind of on this animatronic that would like bend forward.
Yeah.
And I come around the corner and I have a great supervisor voice. And I'm like, hey,
The dad voice.
I was like, you cannot touch anything in this house. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. It's dangerous.
It's for your safety.
Like legitimately, this thing didn't work yesterday. And please be safe.
And I mean, it could crush you.
Yeah. So they kind of like brushed me off. And then in the next room, they did a similar thing. And I was like, if I have to tell you again, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at that point, they're like, oh, looking over their shoulder and they're huffing at me.
Right.
And within 5 minutes, they go from enjoying my company to hating the fact that I'm following them.
Like hate your guts.
Hating me. So we leave the haunted house and I walk up to them and I'm like, hey, I understand you guys are having a good time. I don't want to spoil that, but this is your final reminder. You need to like keep your hands to yourself. Please don't touch anything. It's for your safety.
Right.
And a couple of them were like, okay, whatever. And then one chick just was like, whatever. Like, whatever. And yes, I'm putting on the voice because that's how it still sounds in my head. And she kind of started like saying things to me as I'm walking away. And I'm like, I don't care. She's drunk. I'm just going to let her enjoy her night.
Fine, yeah.
She kept saying like, you don't know how to do your job. And we were having a good time. And she kept saying things to me that I didn't care about. But then she said this one thing that like really pissed me off. And the thing she said to me was, why the fuck do you give a shit? You don't even make enough to give, like, to care anyways. And for whatever reason, that's what triggered me.
That's such a weird thing to say.
But essentially she was saying, I don't make enough money at this haunted house, so why should I care about what's going on inside of it?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
You obviously don't understand. We're doing a service for you. I was like, and now you're trying to tear down my people.
Yeah.
In some weird capitalist way.
Yeah.
And I don't
Classist.
know. Yeah, absolutely. So I was like, are you kidding me? So I was like, okay. So I didn't engage with the group. I then called security, not to get them kicked out, but to give them a warning. Like to let them know that I was serious and this is a legitimate warning.
Yeah.
So the group leaves and I'm calling security on the walkie-talkies and they start heading towards like the front of the park.
Yeah.
I follow them just so that I can identify to security. I'm keeping a very good distance because one of the people was wearing like all white and like a furry hood. So I was like, I'll be able to identify them.
I think I remember this night.
So security pops up. A couple of the guys, now mind you, we'd worked there for a while. So really good friends with security. A couple of the guys pull me back. One guy was like, hey, you want some Pop Rocks? And I was like, yeah, I want some Pop Rocks as we're watching this little event unfold. The head of security starts talking to the guest and is just screaming. She's just screaming at this guy being like, she was following us through the entire house. She took her flashlight and like put it in our eyeballs. And I'm like leaning over to the security guard and I'm like, hey man, check my pockets. I don't have a flashlight. I was like, and he was like, I know. And so she starts screaming. The head of security is trying to calm her down. Like she's freaking out. And all of a sudden she points at me and she was like, who cares? That bitch is on her period anyways. And I was just like, what?
It's such a weird thing to do.
And it's like security was just like, okay, and now you're evicted from the park.
Now it's your time to go.
So I'm just like, these people who think that they're owed something because they spend a little money.
Yeah.
It baffles me.
Like, you spend money. We want to give you a good experience. Like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Right? But then these people come in and then they, like, feel entitled to, like, no consequences.
Yeah.
Which I think is so ridiculous. Because, like, you can pay for things and you can come to the event and you can have fun.
Yeah.
Like, we're not saying no to fun.
No.
You can absolutely have fun. You can laugh. You can be as loud as you
Just
want.
don't
you can
be
scream.
a dick.
Just don't be a dick and follow the rules because the
Yeah.
rules aren't there just to be like arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's literally there for your safety.
And
At the end of the day, it's so you don't
for you guys
kill
to
yourself.
it's so that you guys have an actual good experience.
Yeah, it's not
Like, are you going to feel safe if the group in front of you starts beating the crap out of the actor who
No,
was about to
that
scare
sucks.
you? Like, you're going to watch that and be like, oh my God. I don't want to go through
so
this house. I don't
bad.
want to walk behind that guest.
No, it's gonna suck. And like also a lot of those animatronics that I don't think people realize is that if you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, it will hurt you and it will hurt you badly.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize that because it's such a suspension of reality that they're like, it's a thing that can't hurt me. But I mean,
I know it's fake. Like we had this monster who used to come through these giant wooden doors, and essentially when you pass his sensor, he opens these doors with his two arms wide.
which is like it's a good effect, and you're not supposed to like get in the way of the doors.
No, I mean the nice thing about that room is when the doors would open, people would jump back against the wall, so it did leave a wide
And
clearing.
that's the point.
But then, and then, of course, people are like, "Oh," but then they see that it's a door.
Yeah.
Where, let's be honest, we weren't really good about hiding like the air compressor back there. You could see it.
Yeah,
The
you can see
big guy
stuff.
scared you, but you could still see some of the things that were running him.
Yeah.
But people would go in there and be like, "Oh, let's just have the door close on me," and you're just like,
that's
"How
a
do you
bad
not
idea.
think that
It's a-
that's dangerous?"
It's the same.
Would you lie on a track when a roller coaster is going up?
It's the same people who like will see their hat inside like the active ride area of like a roller coaster.
Yes.
And be like, try and reach in for it.
They're like, "It's okay, I'll just climb this fence.
I'll just like hop in there real quick.
It'll be fine."
It's fine. No, it's not fine. That fence is there for your safety.
Yeah.
Stop it.
It may look pretty. There may be flowers wrapped around it, but it's not someone's garden to go into.
This just became Courtney and Brienne's like bitch fest.
Yeah, essentially. Well, as if we're going to talk about guests that piss us off, then we're going to get into it.
Yeah, we've had some serious experiences with like some gnarly guests.
Yeah. But I think that the like good and bad guests where you can like it's a fuzzy line are those drunk guests.
Yeah.
Because again, like we said earlier, they could either be super awesome and just be there for a good time,
Or they can be so bad.
or they can be so bad.
And they can turn real quick, which is like,
But they're not like,
Worse.
but no matter what, I will say like sober, and this is totally a generalization stereotype, but I'm gonna say it, the sober, tough guy boyfriends.
oh yeah, hilarious.
Hilarious.
Especially when they throw their girlfriend at you.
oh my God. Like, and then the girlfriend's like, babe?
Babe!
And then but then like she's not scared and she's got her purse and she's like, whatever.
It's so funny. It's like my favorite. Actually, I have a story about that
Go on.
now that I think about it. Also in the Outlaw Times.
Such good times.
I have so many stories from then because that's when like I scared the most. Well, that's not true. I just scared a lot, and a lot of it was semi-unconventional at the time. Because it was
There was no rules.
There was no real rules. There were rules, but they weren't really rules. So I was in this room that had like a giant strobe, right? And it was one of the big powerful ones. And it was pitch black. And the decor in the room was like these bodies that were like tied to stakes.
Yeah.
So it looked like there was a bunch of bodies in there. There was only ever one person in there that was real. It was me.
You.
So in this room, all you have to do is like step forward.
Yeah.
And people think everyone's moving towards them.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And I don't know how I managed to be in there for 8 hours straight. Like, that hurts. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Look at the ground the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get used to it. Anyways, so I was in this costume that was like a demon pig head type thing.
Okay.
And I had like, I'm going to explain it all because it's ridiculous. I was in like a blazer.
Yeah.
And I had tights on. And like, I think I was wearing, I don't know. I can't remember what type of shoes I was wearing. Probably some type of boots.
Black.
Yeah. Some type of boots. But it was like, if you looked at that in like regular lighting, it probably didn't mean much.
No, I'm like trying to visualize it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah. You know what? I might have a picture. I'll post it.
Yeah.
I'll post it after this.
You know,
episode's go
blazers
live.
are terrifying.
It's so terrifying. So I'm in this room and this couple is coming through and they get to the room and they're both really hesitant to come in. Like, really hesitant to the point of like, it took them a couple minutes to actually step foot. And so I'm just standing there and I'm like waiting. Like, I'm just like, okay, we're chill. It's fine. And then
Any minute now.
Any minute now. Any minute now. Okay. So waiting and waiting and waiting. And then the dude finally like takes a step in.
Yeah.
And I wait a little bit longer, a couple more seconds, because I want him to get like in the room.
Yeah.
Not like just in the doorway.
No, you want the
I
full
want him
satisfaction
in
of the scare.
the room.
Yeah.
Right? So he gets into the center of the room and I took a step forward and I can't remember what vocalization I did, but I know it was loud enough that he just looked at me in terror and fell to the ground. Like, just instant, all the way down to the ground. And this dude was not like, I did not expect this from this person.
No.
Because he was giant and he was broad and he looked like someone who was really brave.
He's got like the
Yeah, like he had the tough guy face.
of like, yeah.
Yeah, and he had the tough guy face on, and like his girlfriend was mostly the one who was like really hesitant to come into the room. And so he drops and he's crawling through the rest of the room, and he left his girlfriend. Which was even better because like she now has to get through this room
By herself.
And so he's already gone.
Yeah.
Like, he's out of the attraction.
Yeah.
And she's like hesitantly, like slowly going through. And I'm like kind of circling around her now because I can. She doesn't know who, what, where, why. But now I'm this being that's moving around and it looks like all these other things are going around. She's losing her shit. She eventually makes it out, but it took a while.
Oh my gosh.
But I will never forget that guy's face where his, like, the realization that there was a real person in there because I didn't move for like 5 minutes.
No.
Yeah, it was great. It was
Your game was on point.
it was so good.
Oh, I love the assists you can get that like the people the guests who come through who see you make eye contact with you, and because they've seen you,
Right.
they're not going to be scared. They see you, they have identified the threat, quote unquote, in the room or in the area. But my favorite is roaming outside, having them focus on one specific person, and then you kind of creep up behind them on the other side.
get 'em.
And like more often than not, I wouldn't even do like a big scream, but I would do something really small like, "How you doing?" And just like something super simple, but it's so unexpected that then they scream at the top of their lungs, probably in a completely different vocal range that they've ever screamed in before.
They didn't know they could get there.
It's either, like you said, they either drop or they book it.
Book it.
And the girl, more often than not, the girl is left there by herself being like, well, I'm scared too, but like, damn.
Okay, now of those two types of reactions, like the
drop or the run?
The drop or the run, which is your favorite?
The run. Because as much as I love the drop, I love me a good drop. Don't get me wrong, and I've performed a few good scares with a few good drops. But I think I like the run more because when someone drops in front of you, it's almost like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Like you've scared that person. but I don't want to traumatize that person too much. Like just a little bit, like a little nibble.
Tiny bit, right.
But like I don't want you going home hysterically crying.
Right.
So when they drop, I usually back off right away, and then I kind of become like more of like a Pennywise character where I'm
like
a little
more
bit more
entertaining,
playful. But the run, it's like, because sometimes they run down from one end of the park to the other, but sometimes they just run and then stop and then come back. And then they try to avoid you, and they're doing that dance around their friends, and you're kind of like doing a little peekaboo with them. So I think the run is more that I like, because it's a little bit more interactive. And you can still traumatize them.
Totally.
Just in a different way.
I think.
What about you?
I kind of like both.
Yeah.
But I like both at the same time.
They drop and they're trying to crawl away?
They're crawling away. I think that's my favorite. But I do like the run because usually it draws more attention to the scare, because they've run. Yeah. And now people that they've run past, they're like, what the fuck did
they're
they just
looking
run from?
back at
like,
what they've run away from.
What did you just run from?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get more runners.
Exactly. And they're like, ah, fuck.
They're like, that person's running. I got to run too.
Yeah. Clearly this person is terrifying. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Dang.
Damn.
We got to get out of here.
A little Friday action for you. Damn.
Oh, man.
Okay. So, okay.
All right. Brianne's got a question or something.
Yeah. A question. Oh my gosh. I have a question.
All right.
All right. Who do you prefer to scare?
Okay.
The tough guy teenagers?
Okay.
Or the tough guy adults? Now, mind you, I say tough guy because it can be just like as a general term. Because I know some tough guy girls who are just girl, you don't scare me.
Right.
Or like, and I'm just like, I know.
The teenage boys.
Yeah?
And here's why.
Oh, go on.
Because the teenage boys have more to prove.
Yeah.
At least they tell themselves that they have more to prove.
They're still at a point in their lives that they're, putting not necessarily a facade, but you're putting up a little bit more of a front.
Like there's more of an ego to it than anything.
And like the older you get, the more like you drop those egos and start
because
not
like
caring.
I could perceive someone as like a tough guy as an adult.
Yeah.
And they're not, and they're like the easiest thing to scare.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the tough guy boys, literal boys, they have a big ego. Yeah. Because they like, like come up, oh, I'm not scared. You're not scary. Right. And they see you. Yeah. And then you do like one move and they're like, ah! And then they lose their minds and they run. So I think it's more fun for me that way. Yeah. Just because I know it's like they're into it, but they're not, like they're pretending that they're not into it. But also the boys sometimes can be like more I shouldn't say just the boys because it can be the girls too. But like the teenagers end up being more problematic than any of them. But at the same time, that's like the main demographic for haunted houses. Yeah. So you end up with that demographic of teenagers, like tough guy teenagers in general. And so I think they're the most fun for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd agree that the teen girls, I think they put, they're I don't know.
You can break them real quick.
You can. But I think some teen girls, it's either you can break them real quick or they're so stone-faced.
Yeah, that they're not going to show it.
And they're just like, they look down on you. And like even as a grown woman, I'm like, damn. Why is this affecting me so much? Like, you are staring into my, like, how are you not a haunt actor? You are staring into my soul. Yeah. And you're terrifying me.
Like, chill.
Like, I'm just like I'm not going to lie. Teen girls scare the shit out of me.
They are terrifying.
Teenagers in general scare the shit out of me, but teen girls.
Teenagers scare the
living shit out of me.
Okay, no.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I think I would prefer to scare adults.
Yes.
Because teenagers scare the shit out of me.
I mean, I can attest to that too. And sometimes like the adults, they'll get into it a lot more. Yeah. And it's not just like a scare for them and they're not like booking it through the house. Where, like the adults will they'll take in the scare, they'll giggle, and then they'll move on.
And then they'll be like, let's go to the next room and get scared again.
Yeah.
Whereas
they
like
enjoy it.
sometimes like I feel like, you know, I know I did as a teenager. I put on a show like when I'm with my friends kind of thing.
yeah.
So they do the big wild screaming or like they're all acting tough and I totally, I mean, I didn't go in haunted houses because I was that terrified as a teenager, but like in general, like out in public, we put on those facades.
A little front. Yeah. Cause like, I remember a lot of the teens that we would see, like the pushing and the shoving and like that's kind of part of that because like someone's like trying to have a stone face and then other people are like way too scared and they're like, why am I doing this? Why am I in front?
Yeah.
Like,
why did I agree to this? Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also think that the teenagers are more likely to, how to put this politely, be dicks.
That wasn't polite.
There's the worst things that have ever been said to me as an actor
From
have
teenagers.
come from teenagers.
Okay, so, well, now that we've talked about some of our
Experiences
with like, you know, the pros and cons of like working at a haunted attraction and
good and bad guests,
some of the good and
experienced.
bad guests and some of our like really weird experiences with guests.
I mean, I feel like we kind of went into like certain extremes of like really happy ones and like
and
really,
then really awful
bad ones.
But like there's a lot of really good in betweens.
Absolutely. I just enjoy like people who would like walk by and smile and like you do like a little pretend you're gonna run after them. And they're like, hoo, ha, ha, ha. Just like something to brighten their day.
Yeah, and it, like you'll never see that person ever again, but it's a good place.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
And it sticks with them, I'm sure. Yeah, so this has been episode 2. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for coming by, guys.
Thanks for listening again.
And remember, if you guys have any guest stories, pros or cons of your own, you guys can like hit up our social media.
Yep. We'll be around. Our DMs are open. If you guys want to give us your own haunt story, we have a link in our bio of our Instagram. And I'm also going to put it on our Buzzsprout website so that you guys have more access to finding it. So it's more accessible to you all. But there's like a submission form that you can fill out and tell us your stories. It will be anonymous unless you give us permission to
use your name.
Yeah, use your name and the haunt that you worked at.
Yeah. Or if you want to come on.
Yeah, we will be gladly having people on this podcast. We want to have some guests. Maybe reaching out to some in the future.
Yeah, and you know, it's like we could always just talk to each other, but it's fun to talk to other people.
Yeah, we like talking to you guys, and I just want to meet you all. So
we want to meander down this trail with you.
We're gonna meander,
and we're meandering. We're meandering.
Yeah, so hit us up on our Instagram, which is at Just Haunted House Things.
Woo!
On Insta. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is also just search Just Haunted House Things. You will find us. Thanks for listening, and you're listening to
Just Haunted House Things.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye.